Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to analyze what went wrong in the rapid game that I played last night. This time it wasn't on chess.com. When I went to play my nightly rapid game that I normally play on the app on chess.com in the evening after my kids have gone to bed, chess.com was down. I found out on Twitter that they had been down for some time, and it turned out I think they were down for something like 3 hours. The entire site, all the apps and services, etc. So I played my nightly game on Lead Chess, and I'm going to analyze it here. I'm not going to go through every move. That would just take too long. But Lead Chess's version of the game review said that I had 2 mistakes and 6 blunders. I will just say that I won this game on time, but my opponent had a significant lead out of the opening into the middle game. Then they gave it away, and then I gave it back right before the end. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to click through this move list and until I get to my first blunder. All right, after 12 moves, my opponent has a slight advantage, but it's still between -1 and +1, which I consider almost even. My next move was a mistake. The engine says I should have brought this bishop back here. Well, that makes sense. I guess I considered that. I think I did, but my second best move would have been to capture here and they would have taken back with the pawn, but that would have been counted as probably a mistake too, if not an inaccuracy. I see the reasoning for this move to protect the knight, but I thought my knight was already protected. I was planning on, in just a little bit, moving my queen up here to d6, which would protect it and get it out of the pen at the same time. But I thought if I did that now, this knight would drop in here. So that's why I chose a6 as my next move, but Stockfish says that was a mistake. What does that allow? That allows them to take this pawn. Okay. I guess I see that because, I mean, my knight can't guard it anymore, but couldn't my queen capture there? No, my queen can't capture there because their bishop is pointed at it. Okay. Well, then backing up, if I had played this, couldn't they still capture that pawn? Let's see. If I played this, isn't that pawn still there? Oh no, now I have 2 pieces on that. And the bishop is defended by the knight. So they wouldn't take the pawn. Okay, I understand that. Because my queen isn't the only thing defending the bishop, the knight's also defending the bishop, which allows this knight to take here. So if they took here, and I took back with the bishop, well then they could still take that. It doesn't say that they would take there, but what if they did? And I would take back. Now they can take here, and it says that they would, but they don't have nearly as big of an advantage as they did before. Oh, now I can take their pawn, that's why. Okay, I understand that. Okay, well my next blunder I can see in the move list was on my next turn. So when they did take that pawn, it's still my best move to bring this bishop back here. Well, I did not realize that. I thought what was important here was to get my queen out of the pen so I could move the knight, but I guess it doesn't matter. They're going to take the knight anyway. What I did was play queen to d6 so I could protect the knight this way until I could get the knight out of the pen, but at that point it makes sense that they're going to take it. But the mistake was bad enough that even my best move isn't that good. Yeah, and it says if I did play that, they're going to take that with the knight. And then I would take with the queen. Okay. Well, I played this. So of course they are supposed to take my knight with check, which they did. And I'm supposed to take back with the g-pawn, which I did. But now my opponent is up +7. Okay, and I'm not sure I understand the engine's recommendation here. Here the engine is saying that my opponent should capture this knight on c6. And when they did, I wouldn't take back. I would just play f5. Really? Yeah, I don't get that at all. What am I not seeing? They would play here. Let's see. If they played here, yeah, my best move would be f5. Really? And I would be down +8. How bad would it be if I captured here? Oh, they have mate into now. Because my king can't move, so they're going to play here. I have to go over, and then that's mate. Wow. Okay, well, it's a good thing my opponent didn't see capturing the knight there, because the bishop move has nothing to do with the knight. It has to do with getting out of the way of the queen. And that's why I would play f5, is to protect that square this way. Okay, I do understand now. My opponent didn't play there. My opponent blundered here, coming after the knight this way. Well, to me, it made sense to move my knight over here, because, well, if I moved it there, they'll just take it. I can't move it there. I don't know what it would be doing over on a5. Same thing with a7. Don't want to put it back on its home square. I can't move it there. Moving it back to e7 wouldn't be horrible because from there it could come over here and block a check. But I chose the best one here, which was this. Okay. And now we're down to +3. Okay, let's go on to my next blunder. Okay, here after move 24, we're almost back to even, and my opponent still has a very slight advantage, but they've given away most of that +8 advantage that they had at one point. I need to take this pawn here, and it says when I did that their rook would then capture here on f5, and then I would take their, and then I would take their queen, and they would take back with the rook. Okay, because I'm down 1 pawn right now, so taking there would even us up on pawns, but then they would go up a pawn again, and then this, and then this, And I can't read the rest of the line, but I assume after that I would, well, wouldn't I take their rook? Then I would be ahead, wouldn't I? Oh, but then their bishop would take my rook. Okay, that was what I was missing there. My second best move is a5. I'm not sure I understand that. I think they could just take it or move past it. They would be okay either way. Or king to g7. Okay, well, what I saw was that since their bishop has gotten out of the way of the queen just a little bit, I figured their queen was going to come in here. Well, not immediately because that pawn was there, but I thought they were working on something to get their queen over there. And so I wanted to get my rook here. That's why I played rook to d7, my next move. And it says that is a huge mistake because it allows this. Well, they were going to do that anyway. That's interesting. Even if I played what the engine said was my best move, they were going to take f5. I didn't see how I could defend f5. But they did take f5, and now I'm down +2 again at this point. +3. Again, I'm supposed to play a5 or king to g7. Not sure what king to g7 would do. Oh, you know what? My pawn wasn't the only thing guarding that square. My knight was guarding that square. Okay, well, I played what I had been planning on playing originally, which was putting my rook over here on g7. Not only would it kind of point at their king, but it would block any of these squares from their queen or their rook. Not really block that their rook or queen could move there, but then I could take them. And yes, my pawn's guarding that square, and my knight's guarding that square, and once my knight moves, I guess my queen is guarding that square through here, but my rook there would guard all of them. Oh, and this pawn's guarding that square. So anyway, yeah, that's what I thought, that my rook there would guard all of them, but apparently that's an inaccuracy and takes us up, it's almost a mistake though, it takes us to +5. So I would count that as a mistake, not an inaccuracy. And the reason is because of queen to d4 or queen to d2, either one of those according to the engine. I'm not sure about that. Because they still can't come over here. I'm not sure what either one of those would really do. I guess my opponent didn't see it either, but they did see that their e5 or d5 pawn was weak, so they moved this pawn up, but that gave some of the advantage back. Okay, and apparently I have made less than optimal moves here by move 31. My opponent has a +6 advantage, but I don't know that they knew it. I certainly didn't know it. I thought they might have a very slight advantage because they're up 2 pawns at this point. But I also know that I'm threatening some things. I have my knight and my rook pointed right here at g2. They've just had to move this rook back to guard that square. I have my queen getting close. This pawn's vulnerable, so their queen's kind of stuck there defending it. But my opponent's next couple of moves, my opponent's next 3 moves were blunders, which gave me an advantage. That was a blunder. I played correctly because their bishop was hanging. That's a blunder because it allows this. I was just getting my knight out of danger. That's a blunder because I should have played queen to g4 here. But then I blundered back because I didn't play queen to g4. Also, queen to h3 would have been just fine according to the engine. I don't know why that's better. Why is that better? If I play queen to g4, aren't they gonna... Oh no, my knight's guarding that. Okay. I'm not sure about queen to g4. I guess I get queen to h3, and it says either way they're gonna take here. I don't understand why those moves are better than what I played. This takes us back to even when I did have a okay advantage, but again, I'm not sure why those 2 squares were so much better than this. But it says, yeah, no matter what I played, they're supposed to take here next, but they didn't. And now I can play rook g to f7. Only move that maintains what advantage they just gave me here because they didn't take the pawn. So, okay, I get that. I'm lining up on the pawn, but that kind of neglects this file, which was the whole reason I had put that rook over there in the first place, was to get in front of my queen. But that's a blunder. Gives a huge advantage back to my opponent, but only if they take it. What? Hopefully some people watching this video are a lot higher rated than me, or even if you're the same rating or lower rating than me, but you do understand some of these positions, please feel free to leave in the comments what the explanation for this is. That looks like it gives up a rook for a knight. Yes, it does expose this, but then I would take it. They'd have lost 2 rooks for a rook, a knight, and a pawn, and I would have a rook and a queen left to their queen. Is it the fact that this passed pawn is so close? Is that what it is? And that I can't get to it? But I would be pointed right at it. And I have a rook guarding this rank, right? Take here. No, sorry, if they take the knight, I'm going to take there, right? It says I wouldn't. It says I would just move my king over. Yeah, see, I don't have time to follow that whole line out. I just don't. Even regardless of whether I'm doing the video or not, I don't have that kind of time. And that's probably why I'm not getting better at chess, but I do not understand why that's the best move. My opponent didn't understand why that was the best move either, and they went there. I did play one of my better moves, and then I had the lead here for just a little while, but I'm going to take us all the way to the point of the blunder that put me behind. Keep an eye on the clocks. I think they're visible on the screen. I have almost 5 minutes left in a 10-minute game. My opponent's down to 2 minutes, so that does become a factor. Okay, right here for several moves I have maintained an advantage. As you can see on the board, I have an extra rook, but my opponent has 2 connected passed pawns. That's, if you watched one of my previous videos, that's several games in a row now that my opponent has gotten 2 passed center pawns against me. And I don't know how they keep doing it. What I'm supposed to play here is b5. I guess I get that. Gains a tempo, I guess, so they would have to move their queen someplace, and it says they would probably come over here to e4 with it, and then I would move a rook over to get in front of that pawn, but then wouldn't they advance the pawn? It says that they would not. Why not? Sorry, I have to follow this out. If I played my best move, which was b5, and they played their best move, which is either queen to e4 or queen to e2, same evaluation for both. Let's say they played this one because they want to stay near this pawn. I would play rook to e8. Why wouldn't they advance one of these pawns? I get why they wouldn't advance this one, because I would take here with check and force the queen trade. But why wouldn't they advance this one? It says a4 is their best move. Really? Okay, what's wrong with this? What do I have now? Oh, now I can get this pawn. And then, of course, that one. Okay, I do get that. Well, what I saw here was that my opponent had 15 seconds left in a no-increment game. And I still have 2 rooks and a queen left on the board. I figured I could win on time if I just moved quickly. And so I started moving very quickly, and that explains the blunder of my next move, which is that. That gives away my queen, of course. My opponent did see it, but it took them 3 seconds. Now they only have 12 seconds left. Of course, I'm going to take back. Stockfish says, for a second there, it said they had a mating sequence, but now it says plus 36, plus 75. Okay, there it is again, mate in 12. But it's only mate in 12 if they play e7. If they play e7, I have to play rook g8 because they're about to promote. I assume after that they would push the next pawn and then promote one of them. I don't know exactly how that would work. It says they might not. They might play queen to d4 to get behind this one because that one would already be pushed forward. But I guess my opponent was worried about my advanced passed pawn, which I was looking at. I wasn't sure how this was going to play out, but again, I knew they had 12 seconds left. I was thinking of pushing this. I have a rook behind it. But they took it. That gave away a bunch of their advantage because they don't have a mating sequence anymore. We're back to +5. But they spent 7 seconds on that move. They only have 5 seconds left. I'm supposed to just take that with check, which would have been a great move, would it not have been? But instead, I checked there, which is fine because I still have more than 2.5 minutes left. And that's where my opponent's last 5 seconds ran out. I guess they were expecting me to take this. And so when I went here, that threw them off or something. But backing up, if there had been more time, then yes, this would have been bad because it gave away the queen for a rook. I get that. I get why that's bad. But I don't get why b5 is so good, and that's the only move that maintains what advantage I had here. Again, if somebody's higher rated than me, please feel free to explain it. I did win this game. It is on Lead Chess, so it doesn't affect the rating that I'm really paying attention to over on chess.com, which is right around 1200 right now. But I feel like almost all of these blunders are inexplicable to me. And I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm trying to look at it in terms of, well, this is the only one that makes sense to me. Out of all the blunders in this game, I think that's the only one that makes sense to me because I gave away the queen for a rook and didn't even really get a passed pawn out of it because later they could just take back, which they did, but it turned out to be a mistake on their part to take it back. But anyway, that's the only blunder in this whole game that I think on my part that I really understood why it was a blunder. I don't understand the best moves in most of these cases. It says if I had done anything else, like if I had just played f3 at this point, that would have taken us back to drawn. I assume it has to do with these passed pawns, but I'm just guessing. So hopefully chess.com will be up tonight for my next rapid game, and hopefully you're all getting better at chess. Thank you for spending your time here. I'll see you next time.